training.
Okay, 6:30 according to the official clock. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting. We do have a quorum. Um, at this time, we're gonna do our pledges and invocation. Johnny Waldrop's gonna lead us in the pledges and bring the invocation. Everybody, please, let's.
Father, we thank you for bringing us together tonight to serve our city. Father, we thank that you give us so many blessings throughout our day. Father, just watch over this meeting, let it be civil. Give us the words to speak. Give us the heart to know your will, Lord. We thank you for watching over our first responders. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Okay, work session. Discuss receive updates on IT infrastructure, including broadband connectivity. Speak copper.
I'm still on vacation, Amber.
I spoke with Jeff earlier today. I think he's been working on getting into contact with Pathway. So I don't have much of an update on that. You and I talked about the servers a little bit. They have a data recovery team working on those servers now as we speak. I think there's 12 cells within each server that they're gonna have to do data recovery, so he's keeping me in the loop on that. But as far as the broadband, I don't really have the updates.
Okay, on the servers you were talking on the data recovery, that he had kind of quoted you a ballpark sizes, what is that?
There are 12 sections of each of the server, of the two servers, instead of 500 per section, so. But he said not to exceed 14,000 in case they did run into something strange, but what they're finding, they did get 100% of everything off of the first server. But now they're finding that they're getting some piecemeal stuff off of the secondary server that. Kind of explained it how I understand it, I'm not IT yet. So when segments of the servers get full, it may save another piece of it onto another server. So what they're finding is what they pulled off of the first server isn't 100% fully intact. So once they are able to get the data off of the other server, then they're gonna have to have the data recovery team essentially put it all back together. So that's where most of the time is coming from, but they're still slowly pulling some stuff off the server, but they've got a couple of the blank, a couple of the deals that won't let them transfer the data out. That's that.
Do we do have some corrupt files?
Not correct files, it's there's like a, look at it as like a doorway that allows data to come in and out of each of those segments, and there's several of those doors that are no longer functioning. The servers are, the age of the part on the servers range from anywhere from 2004 to 2013. So it's been parted out, and then I guess he was telling me that there was no licensing carried on those servers. So that's why they were never alerted that those cells were going bad essentially, or the doorways. So we're working on it. He has Microsoft pulled in today, but we should go ahead and proceed because it starts on there. So you want to keep me in?
Anybody else have any questions?
What was this a college fund? Was this a battle loss or was this just
No,
what we're doing in Tradesburg?
we purchased 2 new servers because the other servers were so old. And they were failing multiple times a day. So we've moved what we can off of them, but because of the age of the servers, they're no longer supported and can't really find parts for them. So unfortunately, time it would peak over, I think, 10 meg pulling over data, the server would shut down. So like I said, so they thought they had 100% of everything off of the first server, which technically they did, but there were bits and pieces of the other data.
Segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I remember y'all
It's not a fast process. It's not a fast process. Yeah, so he did, so I called him today to ask if he had a minute to talk. And, he's like, well, I'm actually going through Joshua, if you want me to stop by, but, it's just a very fragile process, but since we did get the new servers online, anything from that date moving forward is being saved to the new server, so. That they're confident that the data's there intact, they've got to get the other piece off of it so they can put that together, so.
All right, item number 2. Review and discuss questions related to the budget report, financial statement for May 2023. Anybody have questions on the budget?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to, first of all, if there's any questions, we certainly reach out to address them, but I would like to, introduce to you guys after many months of searching, reading resumes and visiting with people and going through a process to find just the right person. I'd like y'all to meet our new finance director, Marcy Freeland. She started 3 weeks ago, somewhere around there. We were able to recruit her from Cleveland, where she spent many years in finance there. She is very well credentialed and has already made an impact. A lot of what you see here were injuries, and we've got her going through cleaning up stuff and getting stuff and making sure it's in the right spot. So she has already hit the ground running, and you will see her more and more as we go through this process. But I promised her I wouldn't throw her to the wolves tonight, so. Yeah, both of you.
That's maybe my Scott's.
It may be, very happy to have her. I think she'll be good.
So no questions on any of the budget stuff?
This time of the fiscal year.
All right, moving on to item E, updates for mayor and council members and city staff. On Memorial Day, we had a very nice ceremony at the Veterans Memorial. We dedicated 2 new stones to a couple of veterans there. It was a nice little service. Angela did a great job putting it together. We are hoping that this becomes a good annual event. That it's neat and remember those that are following service for the country. And that's pretty much been about the highlight of the month.
It's movies in the park. Yeah,
Park.
movies in the park as well.
Okay. So, and splash pads. How many people showed up for the movie?
There was a baseball game going on, or maybe not a game, but a practice, so I think it was probably 50 to 75, probably. It wasn't a big event, it was a Memorial Day weekend and the graduations were going on, but we had a good time. Stuff.
Anybody else have anything they?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll go to item F, which is the public forum. We have several people we got 3 people that have signed up. This week, there's several others here. I will let everybody know that we will give anybody who wants to speak a chance to speak, whether you turn in paper or not. This is your city council. It's not how we want to run it. So each of you will have 3 minutes to speak. Again, if it's not about a specific agenda item, we cannot get into discussions about that. All we could do is give you factual information and direct you to people that you might need to talk to about it. So our first person would be Tony Vasily. Martin, okay. When you come up, please state your name and your address, please. Sorry about the name.
Thank y'all. My name is Tony Barty, and I've been a resident of Gallatin since 1976. I'm here in regards to conditions in Mountain Valley Country Club. I'm sure y'all are quite familiar with everything going on. So probably I'm gonna be repetitious on some of the things I say, but I had to write them down and bring them to y'all, listen to them. And I know I'm gonna try to get this in 3 minutes. Nearly exactly 1 year ago now, the floors were closed. And all my friends back here, well, I don't see anymore. We don't get to see each other, so the camaraderie was lost. This poses, the time was properly, ever since that happened, the course has been disbanded from any meetings. It's just sitting out there. This poses a liability for health issues, health hazards, fire hazards, stagnant water, etc. Our house personally sits 50 to 60 yards from where we have 5 to 6 foot plants growing now. And they're still growing. And with the 4th of July and everything coming up, there's no, it's just too, it's just terrible to look at. I hope, and I've got that down here somewhere, that y'all personally had a chance to go out there and not just listen to us talk, to go out there and see what we see every day. I purchased a house in Burleson about 10 years ago, and at the closing, I had to pay $300 for the city of Burleson because they mowed. I didn't know what was even happening with the legality of this. So I really didn't want to buy the house. I said, this ain't right. And then I found out it was quite right. So I would hope that, as a council, that you have some strong measures that you can take regarding this property, Mountain Valley. For one thing, putting a lien on her property, Mountain Valley. I don't know how liens like this work. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legality. The restrictions in Joshua to mow, I can't let my yard, that's her yard, the whole thing. I can't let my yard get high, or y'all gonna be over giving me an issue, which you should. There's no limit. I don't know how high you can go. No way would our area be allowed to do this without the force from the city. At least I hold my done.
It's your time. Thank you. Okay, our next person who's signed up was Kelly Moore.
It's always coming.
110 Old Hickory Lane in Mount Valley. We have lived there since 1999, but I have history. I lived in Fort Worth all my life, but I have history since the 70s about the golf course. My grandfather used to be the greenskeeper. It was a beautiful course, and he was the greenskeeper. Loved it. I've always loved that golf course. We bought a house on the golf course, and now we live with all these weeds. And I know that when I first called on this was when they first started growing, and I was told that nothing can be done because there's a lawsuit. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I'm not familiar with that. But what I mean is that I had to call around and get people on the house down the street. And I know you guys know where that is on Rosewood. We had to get that so that they could start mowing at least around the street area. We finally got that done. I've been told there's nothing that can be done about her with these weeds, and that's ridiculous, because when I look out our backyard, we mow up to the cart path. So right past the cart path is all these weeds. They're huge. They're taller than me. I have a lot of allergies, and I'm getting a lot of allergies from all of this too. It's worse this year than any other year. And all I can think about is the fire hazard that's coming. We're to retired firemen. All I can think about is the fire hazard that it's gonna cause in August. So I don't know what we need to get done, if we need to call the state, I don't mind calling, I don't mind helping to get this done. I had to do that back in, what year was that we had to get the state? 2001, when across the street from us, were building those houses and they dumped them in right off of Country Club Drive, right next to our house. And I finally had to get the state. It took me 7 months. I finally had to get the state. And once I got the state involved, they made them do what they were supposed to do. And they made them get rid of all the trees and branches that they piled up in the land. I don't mind helping with this issue, but I, as a resident, and all of us feel the same way, we need something done. We need something done now. We don't need to give her any more time. If somebody needs to come out and mow, she's not gonna pay it, but put a lien, the first time you get it done, put a lien on her property. If it's over a certain amount of money, what does it take to put, to make a lien? When someone steals something, it's like over $500. It's so much. Why can't any amount be a lien on that property? But we need something done as residents. We appreciate all of you guys working with it.
Thank you. AJ? Chief Matthew.
My name is AJ Matthew, live at 503 Country Club Drive. I'm also here to speak about the golf course issue. My property is adjacent to the course. So instead of the golf course view that I've had for 23 years, I now have an overgrown field that I get to look out at. The majority of the property has vegetation exceeding 3 to 6 feet tall, as you've heard. It's quite literally an unmitigated disaster. Along with there's a little more than 70 homes that back up to the golf course. Residents and taxpayers here in this city, we're now facing decreased property value, increasing rodents, reptiles, and weeds on our own properties, and one of the largest fire hazards that this city will have with homes surrounding it as soon as the summer draws this vegetation out. The code violations just from the vegetation are just the tip of the iceberg with this property, though. That's only what people can see above the water line. What's actually going on is a lot more zoning violations, and I know y'all would be familiar with that. Ms. Zhang, the property owner, has taken up residence in the former golf course clubhouse, which ironically turns out to be the only thing she's doing legally at this point, since it's zoned residential. The property lost its non-conforming use, legal non-conforming use, when it ceased to be operating as a golf course. So its R1 residential zoning is in effect. She's continued schemes, though, to try to make money with commercial enterprises based out of that address. The website, mountainvalleycc.com, states that it's not one, but actually 3 commercial enterprises she's attempting to run there: an event center, a public storage facility, and now permaculture. 2 of those are active businesses. She hosted an event there within the last month or so. And if you call and want to get a price on storage, she'll answer the phone and give you a price for storage. She's operating a storage facility. So the permaculture thing, it's a whole new thing that's been ginned up now. It's just a scheme to avoid higher taxation and adherence to local ordinances regarding property maintenance. Ms. Zing would have it believe that all of a sudden she's a great friend of the environment and she's going to create a beautiful eco center, but all she wants to do is neglect the land. Did you know she started a Christmas tree farm there about a year ago? She planted hundreds of Christmas trees and then immediately neglected them and just let them die without any kind of care. And then more recently, she's chopped down a bunch of big mature trees for no apparent reason. She's not an environmentalist. She is always looking for the next easy, cheap thing that might make a buck. She's no friend of the environment, this city, or the residents. She cares not about the rule of law. If she's living there because she knows the property is zoned residential, then she's knowingly violating the zoning by operating a business there. And if she thinks it's zoned commercial, then she's knowingly violating zoning by living there. There is no right to any of her wrongs. She wants it all, and she wants it at the cost of all of us that have invested our lives in this city. I'm asking you to act swiftly and decisively with the full force of law and our city resources to bring this to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to go in.
The city is in a federal lawsuit with this thing. Under advice of our attorneys, we have been trying not to be set up as harassing her. We are having a discussion in an executive session tonight about this very issue. And if you want to stick around long enough afterwards, you might hear what the results are, or at least get an idea of what we're doing. We are addressing it as quickly and as fervently as we can. And I want y'all to understand, I live in Mountain Valley. You know, I'm not on the golf course, but I still see the coyotes roaming my neighborhood. Okay, I know what's going on there. It affects me too. So we are addressing it as best we can, and after tonight, we hope to have a direction set that we can start getting something taken care of. Did you wish to speak? Anybody else wish to speak?
I'm gonna hold off and see what y'all keep saying to see my efforts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I pull up that count. For the clubhouse. It shows me that it's zoned commercial. How is it showing on the tax records that it's commercial? And I keep hearing it as residential.
If you would contact me tomorrow or after the meeting, I'll be more than happy to explain it to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Understanding. Consider. Okay.
It is zoned residential in the city of Josh.
I think we're deviating from the form.
Well, we can answer a factual question about it, but we can't deliberate it.
Right. So it is zoned residential.
What is the golf course?
The Burleson side is zoned.
Side. The
Joshua
Joshua
side.
side is zoned residential.
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 And the clubhouse.
The
Clubhouse and the golf.
clubhouses in Alice will explain it to you.
Burleson is agriculture.
Yes.
That's residential. On zoning, you can't have, if it's been zoning one way, you can't just change the view, can you?
That is something that we're going to be discussing this evening.
So that would be.
Okay. So. Please hold it tight. Okay. Next item is, the recognition of, oh, that's the. No, sorry about that. Next item is the consent agenda. We have 3 items on here, possible action on the minutes from the regular meeting of May 18th. Consider possible action in ordinance to correct, scrivener's error contained in the city of Joshua ordinance number 849.2022, and discuss consider possible action on development agreements and authorize city manager to sign all necessary documents. Do we want to do a single motion on this, or do we want to discuss each item separately?
I need to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion by Johnny, seconded by Merle, to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Regular agenda. At 6:55, we're going to open a public hearing on a request for a zoning change regarding approximately 1.594 acres of land in the HD parcel, Ason, whatever. Survey abstract number 156, County Johnson, Texas, located at 131 Oak Hill Drive, to change from MH HUD Code Manufactured Home District to the R2 two-family residential district to allow for the construction of a duplex. Mr. Maldonado.
Mayor and council, the current property is undeveloped and has never been platted. Property will be required to final plat. This property is zoned the HUD Code Manufactured Home District. Proposed development of this property is to allow for the construction of a duplex. The Planning and Zoning Commission has made their recommendation for approval at the June 50th.
Thank you, sir. Is the owner present? No owner's presentation, okay, so favor against owner's rebuttal present. At 6:56, we'll close the public hearing. Item number 2, discuss, consider possible action on the request for a zoning change by ordinance regarding approximately 1.9594 acres of land in HD Ketson survey, abstract number 156, County of Johnson, Texas, located at 141 Oak Hill Drive, to change from MH HUD, the manufactured home district, to R2, two-family residential district, to allow for the construction of a duplex. Anybody have any discussion they'd like to?
This a one single duplex or?
Yes, one thing.
There are duplexes on that street anyway, aren't there? Have we heard from Jay Sud concerning utilities?
He's already got the process started, got the, he's already been, given two water meters.
Did we have any comment from adjacent homeowners for or against?
No, sir.
Was there a need for that?
Yeah, we sent out the.
Did it? Okay. I'm assuming they have. And it's cross streets, new places, new places. It's
And park on the side, yeah.
double bridge behind.
Yeah.
Over.
If you. So, is there any more discussion? I'll accept the motion. We got a motion by Mike, seconded by Merle, to approve the zoning change for 131 Oak Hill Drive. Change from MH HUD Code Manufacturing Home District to R2 two-family residential. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Item number 3, discuss, consider possible action on an ordinance amending the homestead exemption rate. Mr. Peacock.
Mayor, this was something that's been brought up at the last year's budget. The timeline to make this decision is tonight. We have to file the document in July. So the option to raise the homestead exemption or to not raise it lies with you, with the council. If you raise it, you cannot rescind it. You can't go back. It has to stay at where you are. Currently, we're at $5,000. And then I've prepared some options for you. If you just went up an additional 1,000, the cost to the city would be, or the city, the cost, the effect on the budget would be $60,000. And if you went up to 7,500, the cost would be 72,005, and if you double it at 10,000, the cost would be 145,000. I will tell you that I have not seen anything of substance that has been signed by the governor as far as tax relief. I know there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of back and forth. From looking at preliminary numbers, we are going to have to, I think, without question, with almost certainty, we're going to end up lowering the tax rate a bit because we're going to hit that no new revenue rate. I think because of the appraised values that went up so much, as all of you know. In addition to that, we have had significant construction, both commercial and residential. That number is not figured into the no new revenue. It doesn't go against it. So I believe very confidently that even though I initially was a little cautious, I think from looking at things now, seeing what's been done, there hasn't been any real serious damaging legislation to local government this year. Been a few things, but nothing big. I believe if you opt to double to $10,000, we can comfortably cover that amount and still meet our obligations.
Have you gotten any information or any idea from the appraisal district about protest numbers?
I know they're high. I have not seen anything as far as I haven't seen, we haven't gotten a report that shows what, if anything, has been done. I think that's ongoing. We typically get some information in July when certified values come out. But the appeals process is not always complete by that July date that they have to come out. So we get that usually 6 or 8 weeks, within 6 or 8 weeks of that, but we'll have a better idea. I don't know I haven't seen the number of protests. We'll have that in the July report as well. It'll tell us how much is under protest, and then we use a percentage of that when we figure the budget, and we stay pretty conservative in our guess. But I think with the values, the increases that we've seen, again, both residential and commercially, and that is not slowing, that continues to grow. I think that we are in a position to provide some property tax relief if that's your choice to do. And I think it'll be more meaningful doing that than lowering the tax rate even more. I think this is going to show up faster than a half cent in a sales tax or property tax.
I'm always in favor of lowering taxes. This last appraisal, it's unbelievable and cruel. And I mean, it had everybody. I couldn't believe what they did out there. That ought to have been against the laws. But I think that we can definitely go to 10,000 because we can afford it. And I think we need to afford it. And I think, especially for senior citizens, the Lord are changing that rate would help them more than just dropping a penny on the property tax.
Well. John?
I mean, I'm certainly not against it. You know, I know just with all of the uncertainty of what we're going to be passed it, and we wanted to make sure that we were being cautious in this decision. And I know that there's still some uncertainty, but everybody is having to tighten their belts, and I think the city should be willing to do the same if there's, you know, if it comes out to be something unexpected. So I think we need to do our part. So I'm definitely in favor if you feel comfortable with these. What's going to happen is where I was just kind of really.
I think we're going to be fine, and I think any meaningful legislation that we see is going to be more directed towards school tax relief or the school's homestead exemption versus what the cities or local government. But like I say, I was initially a little bit cautious, but after really getting to look at some things and then looking at, we've had a couple of new sets of sales tax numbers that come in, and we're doing very well. We live well within our means. And even with some ongoing projects that we're working on doing, that we're looking at, I think we're okay. And I think this will be, like I say, if it turns out that we need to tighten some things up to make this a little easier on the residents, then that's what we'll do.
Well, my opinion is mirroring everybody else's. Tax relief, meaningful tax relief. It's something people will see a lot quicker than a penny or two dropping our property tax rate. I think we should do it.
You will have the distinction of being the highest homestead exempted city in the county. There you go.
It's the best.
So, having had that discussion, more discussion.
Motion that what are we looking for exactly here?
To go up to 10,000.
Increase $10,000 on the homestead exception rate.
I'll second that. All right, so I have a motion by Shelley, seconded by Dakota to double our homestead exemption rate to $10,000. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Yes. Item number 4, discuss consider possible action on board appointments.
Mayor, City Council, we currently have 2 openings on the Heritage Preservation Committee. Last year, y'all made the change of any citizen may serve on the board, and so we have one application, Ms. Thomas. I don't believe she's here, but she has asked to be appointed to this board. Yes, the Heritage Preservation. Mhm.
I think people. Meeting, you gotta be. Got a little bit of problem with that. Want to serve, you need to be here. So that's the opinion. Vote for a motion.
Subject to the heritage preservation.
Okay, so I have a motion by Merle, seconded by Shelley to accept Jenna Thomas as a member of the Heritage Preservation Committee Board. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, 5-1. Okay, number 5, discuss, consider possible action on contracting with a professional planner. Mr. Keith.
Mayor, this is the conversation we had. We were looking to reach out to SGR Strategic Government Resources for to bring in a part-time consultant to do a review of our planning practices, all of our development services stuff. It'll include some in-house training for people. We're not going to rewrite ordinances. He will be reviewing those, making recommendations for some changes and amendments. But he'll mostly be centered on our processes, ways that we can streamline. We know that there's current legislation pending and some has passed waiting on signatures that strengthen this shot clock that we have X amount of time to get things out. It's kind of difficult for us when engineering and some of our services are outsourced. So looking at ways to streamline to get permits out the door quicker. That's one of our biggest problems or challenges is to get permits out the door, and we're going to look at all that stuff. We have interviewed, they sent me resumes on 3 different people. We brought in 1 person and they just sent me this stuff back today. It's the reason it's not in the packet. But myself, Amber and Aaron and Brittany visited with a gentleman that they sent over who. So his name is Michael Stolt. He was a former city manager. Has experience in growth management, economic development, budget and finance planning, capital improvements, intergovernmental relations. He's done quite a few things, but his degree, his specialty is planning and development. And so he'll be coming in for a few weeks. This is not going to be a long drawn out process. He'll actually be here in the office for several days. A lot of this work can be done remotely. We did that to help keep the cost down. We don't really need him in here every day. But then some of the training, was actually expecting the estimate to be much higher. But we got the agreement came in today not to exceed $29,000, and that can be covered in this year's budget. It looks like without any problem. And I would ask that this be approved so that we can schedule and get him in the next 60 days or so and get him started.
So his review will not be recommendations on changing ordinances.
He will provide recommendations. He'll provide a report directly to you when he's finished. Some of those may include some adjustments to ordinances. I don't think we're talking about a complete rewrite. That's not the scope. It's just a review. Maybe there's some things that are outdated. Maybe some things need to be changed to match law. He's just going to review all those as part of the scope. But his primary focus is going to be the process and the operation of the department. And also, I want to point out, this was one of his first comments. We are not bringing him in here to build a case to get rid of anybody or because we're looking to make any changes. When we created this position and made this department stand on its own was just before all the COVID mess hit. And so training and stuff that we had planned, we weren't able to do. And so now because we've gotten kind of where we are, staying as busy as we are, I think our best bang for the buck is going to be bringing the training in-house and not send people out. That way we still got everybody here working, and we'll schedule some days and hours for training and stuff. And I like I say, I think he'll be a good fit. I think everybody got that feeling. But that was one of his things. You're not bringing me here to get rid of somebody, and no, that's not the case at all. So we're trying to get everybody better, make sure we're doing it right.
Do I have any questions? So I have a second motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the contract.
Okay, so motion by Mike, second by Donnie to accept the contract for the professional services of Mr. Peacock. Do we need to authorize you to sign that contract?
Let me see who they've got.
Is this a performance based? Yes,
It's gonna be
Amount.
performance based on Aaron. If it costs any more money, he's agreed to pony up the money out of each side. We have a signature,
You like it?
signature page.
We just have to add it.
We'll just say, it can be anybody. It doesn't have a page with it.
So, we have motion is second, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, staff reports, anybody have any questions on any of the staff reports? Okay. So at this time, we are going to recess into executive session 7:13. We do a change of role.
Mayor, do you want to read the closed session and what I?
Sir, I will still report out.
Yeah.
Okay. The executive session, council of the city of Joshua will recess the executive session, closed meeting pursuant to chapter 551, Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with the city attorney regarding possible litigation related to code enforcement issues and all matters, incidents, and related thereto. Call this meeting back to order at 7:50. Shelley?
All right, I move to authorize the city attorneys to undertake immediate enforcement action for the golf course property located in the city of Joshua and all matters. Incident related thereto, including pertaining purposes for mowing and it's questionable. Let me never write that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Shelley, seconded by Merle, to allow the city attorney to do what he told us he wanted to do. Or could do to help us with this issue. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. So, does anybody have any future agenda items they'd like to request? I would like to get a report from Pathway on how they're doing with the Mountain Valley
Absolutely.
project. They're digging a lot of holes and pulling a lot of cable, so.
Do we have an update? Anything that you got, if so. Any changes
On what?
in the facility?
No, the committee has met once. We've got another meeting, the second meeting is scheduled 21st of this month. Get the vacations out of the way.
Wesley. Why, yes. Thank you. Any other agenda?
Yeah, we have started talking, I think, towards the end of last year and maybe into January about changes to the what's management contract. If there's been any changes or anything on.
Anybody else? Okay. If there is no other business before this council at this time, I adjourn this meeting. Perfect.